This is my side of the room. That's your side of the room. You stay over there. Hey everybody, welcome back. Lost my ducks. Season 3. We're on season 3. I don't know what to title this episode yet, so just bear with me. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications on, do all that other fun stuff, and we're gonna get right into this one. This one's about boundaries and why it's so important to have boundaries with people, with family members, friends, acquaintances, strangers even. Have boundaries because you really, really need them in life, and it's really important to have them in life. And when you don't have them, you become an anxious, gross mess. So have boundaries. It's important to create boundaries in your life as well. So, perfect example of creating boundaries. I have an acquaintance that I hadn't spoken to in years, and this is kind of hard to talk about. So, her mom was ill. And in and out of hospice over the years and that kind of thing. And I'm just not going to get into a whole bunch of it. So her mom had passed away. If you've watched any of my other podcasts, you know that I have a lot going on and I am not okay. I had given my condolences on Facebook, and about a week-ish, maybe 2 weeks later, I had texted her and I had said, like, look, I'm sorry. I have a lot going on. Please, my condolences to you and your family and that kind of stuff. And she said, okay, thank you. That's fine. So we're not super close. We're not super close. We say hi like once a month, have dinner or something. It was nice to say hi. I had expressed very early on, like, I can't do like the close friend thing. I just have way too much going on. Okay. She texted me and explained that, she was having some stuff going on, and aside from like her mother passing away, which is horrible and I feel bad for her, but like I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. It's not my job to be therapy. So she had texted me and she said she had a lot going on and she felt like she was on the verge of a mental breakdown. This is where boundaries come in. Boundaries that I learned in day hospital because I too had a mental breakdown. And that's where I went. So I texted her back and I said, I think you should go to the hospital. If you think you are having a mental breakdown, go to the hospital. It's an emergency. It's 100% an emergency. They'll take you in. They'll help you. That's the first thing I did when I went and had my mental breakdown. I was like, I should go to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. She left me on red. And you know what? I think part of me felt bad for her. Like, there's a lot going on. I'm not that friend. And I said to her when we first started talking again, I can't be that person. And I reiterated that, like, this is for professionals, not somebody like me who is not capable of dealing with that, because I had my own mental breakdown. Okay? Like, that's where boundaries come in. I put up a boundary at the very beginning and I stuck with my boundary. And that's a big thing that people need to do, is to stick with that boundary. Okay? a lot of people will say, no, this is my boundary. And then a month will go by and something will happen, and then they'll let their boundary lapse because they don't want somebody to get mad at them, or they don't want somebody to feel bad, or they don't want this, they don't want the other thing. But the thing is, when you let those boundaries lapse, you're going to hurt yourself more than you're going to hurt the other person. And then you keep getting attacked and you keep letting your boundary down. And then suddenly you're at the hospital having a breakdown because you kept just letting this stuff in. And you can't do that, okay? You really can't do that. You have to let people know, here's my boundary, here's what I'm going to do. I don't want you to cross this. And it is so hard, especially with like family members. It's really difficult. With strangers, it can be difficult too, because you don't know where to gauge that. And it's also like forming new friendships. Like, here, I have these boundaries. I want you to respect them. And then if that person doesn't respect them, they're not your friend. They're not friend material. Okay? They're not boyfriend or girlfriend material either. So just accept that fact and move on. Because if somebody isn't going to respect your boundaries and they're not going to stop and be like, oh, okay, maybe I should stop doing such and such a thing to this person because it really does bother them, just stop. And if they don't, just walk away, okay? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to wind up in day hospital. That's why we have boundaries. And I know some of you out there are going to sit there and look at me like, well, I can't do that with my dad, or I can't do that with my brother or my sister or my mom or my aunt. Yes, you can. Okay, it's going to hurt their feelings. Possibly. It very well could. But how much is it hurting you every time they cross that boundary? Like, let's say you have an aunt come over, and every time she's over, she takes shots at you because your hair color is red. Okay. You put that boundary up, say, I'm not going to associate with you if you keep making fun of me because I have red hair. Oh, well, you're just a spoiled little brat, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't like being insulted and made fun of because I have red hair. So until you start to respect the fact that I have red hair, I'm just not going to talk to you. At first, that's going to be real awkward, and hopefully the aunt will come around. Or you can come to a compromise, or they realize like, hey, maybe I'm bullying my niece or nephew, and I shouldn't be doing that because it's not okay. Things are not okay. You're not supposed to bully people. I know, shocking, right? You're not supposed to treat people shittily. So there's an example of boundaries, and keep your boundary. Keep what you want for yourself. I'm not saying sit there and, have all of these very odd things like, oh, if you cough the wrong way, I'm not going to talk to you because that goes beyond my boundary. No, this is stuff that is hurting you. Someone in the room coughing, unless, you're immunocompromised and they have the flu, somebody going in the room is not a good example of that's my boundary and I don't want you crossing it and it grosses me out. No, that's a personal preference, and you got to learn how to deal with that in society, because people are going to cough, or people are going to sneeze or sniff. Some people hate sniffing. Well, people are going to do it. You've just got to learn how to regulate yourself and figure that out. But if it's something like an aunt coming into your house and being like, well, you're just some stupid little redheaded stepchild, all those jokes, you know what I mean? It's not okay. It's not okay. You have to put your boundary up. You have to have boundaries within yourself too. Like, how much of this am I going to tolerate? Maybe you can tolerate the odd, like, oh, ha ha ha, red hair and freckles. Maybe you can tolerate that, but maybe you can't tolerate it when it goes really into it and she really starts on you and knocking on you and just nagging about it all. Oh, you should just dye your hair. You look so stupid. Blah, blah, blah. You have to decide how much you can put up with. Okay? And that's a boundary within yourself. And then you set the boundary outside of yourself with the person. And if the person, I can guarantee, will not respect the boundary right off the bat, then you're going to have issues. And it's going to get awkward for a bit, but maybe you can come to a compromise. Like, okay, could you please not really make fun of me about having red hair? Like, I don't mind when you're like, red hair and freckles. But when you really start telling me I should dye my hair and stuff, I really don't like it. There's your boundary. There's how you set it. I set boundaries with the person that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. She doesn't respect my boundaries. She doesn't talk to me anymore. That's fine. You know what I mean? That's fine. Yeah, it kind of sucks to lose a potential friendship, but at the same time, I'm not able to deal with that. And maybe me saying that to her, she will go get some help and be able to develop her own boundaries and develop her own knowingness of herself a little bit more. That is one thing that day hospital taught me, was how to do stuff for me and how to set those boundaries and just how to be myself. Yes, it is very difficult sometimes. I'm not going to lie. Setting boundaries sometimes very, very difficult, and I don't like doing it. And that's okay. That's okay. I've got to learn that, and it's mistakes, and it's always a continual process on how to do this. But setting boundaries is so important. It's so important. And you can sit down, especially with loved ones and friends, and be like, hey, look, like, let's do this together. Let's set boundaries for each other together because it'll work better. Okay? It really will. Take my word for it. It does. I've done it. You can do it. We can all do it. And if those people don't want to respect your boundaries, I guess you don't have time for them anymore. And just always remember that the boundaries need to be within reason. Like I was saying about if somebody sniffs or coughs across the room from you, that's not disrespecting your boundaries. That's a bodily function, and you need to start checking yourself. Like there's a balance there, and you need to figure that out for you. And if you're at that point of worriedness about germs and things like that, then I think a doctor's intervention is needed, and you need to see what's going on, or maybe psychiatrist or a counselor or psychologist or one of those things, and see what's going on with you. And if it really is a concern, like you are immunocompromised, I think at that point, talk to your doctor. You know what I mean? But that's an example. Like there is a balance between it, and there are things that you can put up with. If you're sitting there and you're like, I can't put up with anything, I can't deal with anything, you need to get some help. You need to get some help with navigating the world and navigating anxiety and navigating that little itching feeling like, oh, I can't deal with anything anymore. That's a call for help, okay? That's your body and your brain saying, I need some help. I should go get this. I should go talk to somebody because it's so important. So I hope this helped with boundaries. I hope our quick little chat about boundaries helps you set some boundaries in your life. And I hope it helps you see that boundaries are okay and that compromise is okay too. And setting those things for yourself are healthy. It's a very healthy thing to do. It's a balancing act as well, because we do have a society and everybody is different. It's not just one whole, everybody has to respect everything about everybody else, because no. But just remember, we live in a society, and boundaries, well, they're a really good thing for yourself. Don't put them up too high, because then you build a wall around you. So it is a balancing act. It always will be a balancing act. You have to figure out what works for you. And ask your doctor for help if you need it, okay? Okay, I'm glad we have that cleared up. Anywho, I hope this was able to help somebody, anybody, get some boundaries. Respect your boundaries. Respect other people's boundaries too. Not just your own, but also respect those, and that's why compromise also has to be made. Anywho, I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.